Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Greidick. I'm Dr. Martha Greidick. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest.
Change is a part of life. It touches every aspect of life, including the workplace. Change is necessary, inevitable, and oftentimes beneficial. Change is an important part of learning and growth and forward movement. But change can also be stressful, especially if it's unnecessary or too frequent, misunderstood, or unexpected. When it comes to a successful navigation of the world of change, especially when it comes to the workplace, a collaborative effort is required. That means collaboration between employer and employees. Let's get right into the details. What kinds of things can help you to navigate change at the workplace? The first thing is communication, or rather, one can say over-communication. Lack of communication has been linked to many problems, so when it comes to change, getting ahead of the game is key. Communication is a two-way street. This means questions and information should flow in both directions between employer and employee. And when in doubt, speak up or ask a question. Sometimes the worst thing that we can do is make assumptions or not ask questions or offer information, assuming that it's unnecessary or unimportant. Seek out and embrace new opportunities. As I've already mentioned, change is important when it comes to growth and learning and moving forward. So when change is part of your experience, make it the best thing that it can be for you and for those around you. Not only will it benefit you, but it will benefit the organization, but only if you embrace it and seek out opportunities for advancement, improvement, and learning. And while by its very nature, change can force some of those things, such as forward movement or learning or improvement, you'll be that much more ahead of everybody else or ahead of the game if you are proactive in seeking out how change can benefit you and what kind of opportunities it can bring. That brings me to the next point, which is acceptance instead of resistance. If you resist change, it can make it that much more difficult. I'm not suggesting embracing all change all the time. Some change is better than other change. However, going at it from the point of resistance can make it that much more difficult. When we're accepting of change, we allow ourselves to have a fair chance of evaluating the change and assessing its potential, be that good or bad. Remember to maintain the relationships that you have at the workplace. It can be difficult to go through change, so having a solid social network can be a big help. Some relationships are definitely worth keeping, so you may want to put some extra effort into maintaining those relationships as you navigate through the waters of change at the workplace. Sometimes Switching your focus from yourself to someone else can be helpful when working your way through change. Consider helping others to navigate through the change that you may be going through together. Not only will you be helping the other person to deal with and work through the change, as you do that, you will also help yourself to navigate through that same change. Helping others can also mean helping yourself at the same time. As the episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. Change is a normal, everyday part of life. That includes your work life. Change can be crucial to learning and growth and to forward movement, but sometimes change can be difficult. However, there are things that everyone can do, both employee and employer, to make navigating through change a little easier. Communication is a big part of getting through change successfully and with as little pain as possible. Remember to seek out and embrace opportunities that may come with the change that you are facing. Focus on acceptance rather than resistance. You'll only be making things easier for yourself. Remember to maintain your relationships at the workplace. They can be a tremendous help when going through change. Don't forget to focus on something other than yourself when you're going through change. Helping others to navigate through change can be helpful to you as well. As the week unfolds, I invite you to consider how you handle change, especially when it comes to the workplace. Which of the suggestions presented in today's episode could you implement in your own experience to make it easier when navigating through change? You know that change is a part of life and that it is inevitable, so why not make it an easier experience, one that can be positive and beneficial for both you, those you work with, and for the organization as a whole? Remember, although you may not have much of a voice when it comes to specific changes around you, especially at the workplace, you have all the power in the world in terms of how you respond to those changes and how you handle the change as it comes along. So rather than being overwhelmed, take your power and make it something that will help you on your journey at the workplace. For those of you who experience this podcast in an audio-only version, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of the podcast. The link for that is in the description below. In addition to the video version of the podcast, my YouTube channel also contains videos that focus on stress management, so I invite you to check that out. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.